What's up, beauties? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be transforming my beautiful model today. We're going to be doing machine weft extensions on her. I'm using hot heads in the color 4/5, and this is going to be a beautiful brunette, and this is in the 18-inch length. So I'm going to be using 1 pack of the hot heads machine weft, and that is going to give us plenty of hair, and we're going to layer these up and give her some super full results. So stay tuned to see her big transformation today.
Let's go, let's lead, let's hit, let's go. Holy hair, let's go, let's go, let's go.
So I want you to see how fine her hair is that we're working with, and this is why using my Wholy Sewn bead foundation is super important, because we don't want to put unneeded tension on her hair. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do 1 row pretty high up here, and then I'm going to do the second row. I'm going to go about 3 fingers above her ear. So you want to always be about 2 to 3 fingers above the ear whenever you're doing a sew-in row of extensions, just because when that grows out, you don't want it to get in the way of, obviously she wears glasses or sunglasses or something like that. So we want to make sure that we have enough space above the ear for her to have a little bit of grow out. So this is going to be her hair before. As you can see, she has really fine hair. I've got her all glazed. We started out with a glaze on her today just to give her some fresh color and a really pretty shine. And so we went ahead and did that, and then now I'm going to go in and get her all sectioned for her 2 rows of sew-ins. A little tip when working with someone who has super fine hair with lots of flyaways, just grab a spray bottle of water, or you can also use hairspray. In this case, I'm going to use water. So I'm just using a little bit of water, spraying, and this is going to help keep everything in place when we're sectioning out her hair. It's super important to make sure that you don't have any flyaway pieces in the way, because you just don't want them to have anything pulling in a weird way. And I'm starting with the row that's going to be up top, and then I'm going to go into doing the row underneath. So I'm going to be using the dark brown beads today, and these are going to be the Hot Heads 5mm size beads, and I've got them strung on my bead looper, and then I'm going to be using the dark brown nylon thread from Hot Heads as well. When starting your client's bead foundation, you want to be super picky about all the little hair strands, especially if your client has a lot of new growth coming in. In this case, my client here had a lot of new growth coming in, so that means tons of flyaways. So as you can see, I'm just using my rat tail comb to swipe away any of the flyaways that try to get into my bead, and that just makes for a really clean section. If we don't do that, sometimes those hairs can snag in different ways when they pull their hair up or down or try to style it. So you just want to be really cautious of this. Another thing that I really like to do when I'm doing my bead foundation is when I go to clamp the bead down, what I will do first is I'll clamp it down halfway, not fully, so that I can make sure that everything is in place. I can pull down the bead slightly and just make it so that it's super comfortable for the client. And then once it's in the perfect place, I will then clamp it down completely. So I clamp it down halfway at first, make sure it's in the right position, and then clamp it down fully. And this just helps to make sure you don't have to go back through and redo those beads, because we all make mistakes, and we just want to make sure that this is going to be super comfortable for our clients. So that's a way that I do it to where I don't have to redo anything. So I measured the entire section here, and I just was able to cut that right on the seam. Since it's a machine weft, it's so convenient. You can just cut it on the seam, and I'm going to do 2 wefts of that. So I'm going to cut I'm gonna measure this onto the machine weft, and I'm gonna cut the same length. So I'm gonna have 2 wefts of the same length here, and this is gonna go on our top row here. I'm going to be layering these wefts on top of her bead foundation, and you can get fancy with this. I've seen people on Instagram get super fancy, but I like to keep things fairly simple, and I'm just going to be using my long duckbill clips for this, and this is going to hold it in place perfectly. And I usually do 1 on either side and then 1 in the middle as well to hold it for the stitching. And then as you stitch around the head, you can remove the clips to make it easier to get around, and so that you know that you've finished one side. So I'm going in and I'm going to be doing blanket stitches for her. Now what I like to do is I like to secure the edges really well, so I do almost like a crisscross on the edge to secure the end down, and then I go into my regular stitching and I'm going around the beads. I am not going underneath the beads when I'm stitching. So this is a fine-haired method where we're going to actually be stitching to the string that is in between the beads. So we're not actually securing this to the client's hair. This is going to put less tension on your client's hair in general, especially for those fine-haired clients who just can't handle a lot of tension on their scalp. So I'm going through with my blanket stitches, and I'm going to be stitching about 3 to 4 stitches in between each bead as I go about, and then I'll finish it off and we will go on to doing her second row. Alright, so we've got her first row done, and it is right here. You can't even tell. Looks so gorgeous. And now I'm going to go into doing her second row. I'm going to section this off, and I'm going to use the remainder of our machine weft on this row. Like I mentioned earlier, this client has tons of flyaways, so I'm just going ahead with that spray bottle of water to make sure we comb everything out of the way and get a clean section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the remainder of her machine weft and I'm going to measure this out so that we can mark either side, and so that will lay the width for our bead foundation. So this is going to start right here, and I'm just taking a little pin curl clip and I'm going to mark the start and then the end of our bead foundation. And this actually is going to end up sitting over her ear, so we do want to make sure we are 3 fingers above her ear here. And a great way to tell if your client needs 2 or 3 fingers is to place a comb in front of your client's hair and just like lift the hair up and see if you can see through it or not. Obviously, we want our clients to still be able to put their hair up, and we want to be mindful of when their hair grows out in between appointments. So we want this to sit about 2 to 3 fingers above their ear to give a little bit of wiggle room for it to not show and also it to grow out well. So I'm going into finishing up her bead foundation here, and then I'm going to layer on the rest of the machine weft, and this is just going to be a single layer of a machine weft on this bottom row here, and that's going to be plenty of hair for her because like I said, she does not have a lot of hair, so this is going to be enough hair for her to maintain and wear, and if she wants more hair next time, we can talk about possibly adding a little bit more hair on top of this row, but I think this is going to be plenty of hair for my client here. As you can see, what a big difference just one pack of machine weft hair can do for a client like this. She needed a lot more fullness and a little bit of length, and she absolutely loved it. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. I'm like obsessed.
Me too. I love it.
How does it feel?
It feels so good. Like,
It looks so pretty.